Jeff Costello, the brothers of the Costello team. What's the Abbott and Costello, but not
similar, but not quite the same.
Yeah. Although, you guys. First of all, welcome back. Chase has been with us. Jeff's first time, and in fact, before the show, we're talking about national versus local markets. It's kind of a national versus a local airline story, I suppose. And, talk a little bit about what's happening in the market today, because you guys are really on kind of the cusp of what's happening in the trenches of real estate.
Well, you really cannot listen to the national media to get a real pulse of what's happening in Seattle. Nationally, the numbers don't look great, but real estate markets are regional. Seattle on the east side is pretty hot right now. Homes that are priced right don't sit, and we're no longer in a buyer's market. The bottom is beneath us, and if you've been on the fence for a while, now's the time to act.
So do you think that, when you start looking at these markets, they're totally different, but if you look at the media, they group everything into one.
Well, they kind of have to. That's what they're looking at. But here in Seattle, and I think in other parts of the country, like Portland, I know is very similar. Houses are moving quickly. It is becoming a seller's market.
And so there's this element, I think, when you have a local real estate market, but you watch national news, because I think most people watch national news. And I don't even think local news talks much about the real estate market. Somebody gets shot in Lakewood, and then somebody gets it's the same story. It's always Lakewood. Do you guys notice that?
It is something with Lakewood.
Something with Chambers Bay Golf Course. I don't know. But, so when you start looking at the national news, which is more political and, more opinion, local news seems really bad. It doesn't always carry the local real estate stories. Just strange.
Well, a lot of it is we have a shortage of inventory.
Yeah, I would agree. We talked a little bit about this last time we were on about the inventory. On a national level, we're not seeing the inventory probably as dry as it is on a local basis. Again, we'd mentioned this last time, we're about 35% less homes available for sale, which, is definitely making the pendulum swing a little bit more towards the sellers rather than the buyers. So last year at this time, we had certainly a lot more of inventory, but the great thing is now we've got less homes for sale, but we've got actually 15% more buyers. So it's definitely changed in our market a lot.
And a lot of it is interest rates. Interest rates are around 4 right now?
Yeah.
And if it goes up another percent, which it's possible, it's going to cost you 20% more to buy a house.
Yeah,
and you guys talked about that on the rate effect, and how it makes a huge difference. Just by a half point can obviously price you out of a price range. If you're in a $500,000 market and the rates go up 0.5%, then all of a sudden you're way down on the price that you might be looking at.
So the rate effect is the way we try to set expectations with our buyers, right? The rate effect being when rates go up, your buying power goes down. Some people don't get it. They think if it goes up 1%, their buying power goes down 1%. Totally incorrect. Obviously, it goes down up to 20%. What are some of the expectations that you guys are setting with your buyers right now, and sellers for that matter, to that effect, with maybe the difference in news or what they're feeling or seeing?
I think for us, the expectations that we're kind of trying to relay to our clients, especially that are buyers or even sellers, is that, what's happening when a house comes on the market, it's not sitting on the market as long as it maybe was a year ago. So you have to be ready to pull the trigger a little bit faster than maybe a year and a half ago. And we're highly encouraging people to get pre-qualified, where they've actually sat down with a lender or a banker and made sure that they've actually looked at all their income and assets and all their appropriate documentation so that they can actually buy that house at that time.
So kind of that expectation of being more prepared than maybe people have been in the past.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Is a lot of buyers still come into this thinking, they're kind of kicking tires. And I think where we go is we require them to be pre-qualified before we go out and show them a house. Not only to make the offer, but so that they know what they can buy. We don't want to set their expectations way too high. We want them to be able to qualify for what they want.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, kind of like a plane that leaves without you, and it's not your fault. But there's nothing worse than thinking you can afford something, putting an offer in, and finding out you can't buy it. That's the nightmare, because the people fall in love with that house, then all of a sudden
Right.
Like, oh, like nobody was going to find out that you didn't qualify. And that's a nightmare situation for everybody involved.
Well, you also get people that they want to spend $250,000 because that's a comfort zone, but they actually qualify for $350,000. Well, we can start them at $250,000, and they're going to move themselves up because they've reset their expectations.
Yeah. We're here with Chase and Jeff Costello, with the Costello team at Coldwell Banker Bain, guys. So when you think about the service expectations, because I was talking about American Airlines, you don't actually expect a plane to wait for you, but they did. What are some of those service expectations you think people should have of their real estate agent or the entire team, really?
For me, I like to set the expectations up front to kind of give them an idea of what to expect. And service is everything. I mean, it goes back to just being able to answer the questions and having people on your team that can respond to you, like having qualified loan officers. And I like to give them more than one option, having a qualified inspector that can actually get through the house, and then having some contractors as well. Because especially with an older house, you're going to find some issues. You just want to know what are the extent of those issues. And you can kind of get an idea before you even make the offer of how to predicate your offer based on the condition of the property.
Yeah, I mean, expectations is definitely, a big factor in our business, and setting the expectations, like Jeff was saying, just making sure that you understand and your client understands exactly, what both parties are going to do, as far as if you're representing a buyer, if you're representing a seller, because open communication is just probably the biggest key in this industry. I mean, not only in the real estate side, but in the mortgage lending side. So it's just setting the expectation at a high level.
Before we came on the air, and we have a few minutes left, but we talked about communication conquering a couple things. Being the emotion, because people are highly emotionally charged during this process. Communication also conquering the fear of potentially a first-time homebuyer going through this process. Do you think that really becomes? I mean, does communication kind of conquer all going through this process?
Absolutely. We forget from time to time that, we do this on a regular basis, where a buyer or even a seller, they do this every couple of years, averages every 7 years. So you have to communicate with them. You have to let them know that you're there for them. It's like Eric was saying, we're really a real estate therapist more so than a real estate agent, because we've got to be there in sometimes the buyers or sellers' lowest times. That just goes with the business and goes with the territory.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. It's I don't want to keep taking his line, but residential therapist seems to be the true statement. Yeah, I'd agree.
So I guess it seems like that for when a client or somebody who's out there looking for somebody who's good in real estate and mortgage, there's that element of therapy and that goes with communication. I mean, we've talked at length actually about the listening part of that. And the communication isn't just talking with somebody; it's also listening to that.
Yeah, you're saying on a listening.
Listening.
Oh, listening
with your ears.
Yeah, I wasn't listening when you just said that. Obviously. Yeah, listening is obviously. We actually wrote that in the script. We planned that. But listening is a key element in it, and a lot of times, agents don't always listen to what that potential client is looking for. As far as, is it a time frame that they're working within, or is it a dollar amount that they're working within? Then there's a various of different factors. So, Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Listening is the key. I mean, if you listen to somebody, they're going to tell you how to sell them. And not that I'm trying to sell them, but, I had recently met a client, and we kind of got off to a little bit of a rocky start. And I had known that she had talked to a few different real estate brokers. And I finally asked him, I said, you've talked to 4 or 5 of us. Why haven't you picked one? And you know what her response was? Nobody has listened to me. So I took that and I ran with it. And we closed on a house by just asking her the right question and actually listening to what she wanted and executing. And I believe that she's very happy with what we accomplished.
That's good. Guys, we have to go to break. Thanks for joining us. Chase and Jeff Costello, the Costello team at Coldwell Banker Bain. Eric, who you guys have been talking about, did not actually call himself a residential therapist. But when we come back, he'll tell you himself what he did mean. My name is Ben Brash, and you're listening to Brashenomics.